All righty. Thanks all. We're really hoping that our good colleagues Queen and Jack are okay since they haven't joined. But let's move forward, and we'll adapt and adopt as needed. What I would recommend is we move Queen's opening remarks to when she's able to join along with Jack. And she had kindly asked me to give a very brief, share some very brief thoughts with you in terms of what the power of local is all about. And then we can move towards the first panel of the event, which is specifically on humanitarian applications of drones. And I'm getting here a message from my We Robotics colleague that Queen and team are doing their very best to connect. So they'll be with us shortly. But let's adapt and adopt, as I mentioned. Thank you all again very much for joining and for your patience in getting started this morning. I've got to say, before I jump into the power of local, that all of us at We Robotics have been extremely excited and energized by South Africa Flying Labs joining the Flying Labs network. They have brought in just their own vibe, entrepreneurship spirit, engagement, and humor to the network. And I can tell you that from conversations with other Flying Labs, not just in Africa, but in Asia and in Central America, Latin America, South Pacific, that everybody is truly grateful to have the South African spirit and vibe and brilliance join the network. So on that note, actually, as Queen had kindly invited me to share a couple minutes to begin with on my thoughts on the power of local, you may know already that perhaps the power of local is a tagline that is very dear to our heart at We Robotics, because it really embodies exactly what we're about. And by the power of local, what we mean, and have come to understand more and more with lived experience, is how important local expertise is, local knowledge, and not just the kind of tangible, very scientific, highly technical knowledge, but we're also talking about the less tangible kind of knowledge that really comes with extended lived experience in a particular country or area or region. And I got to tell you, I witnessed that very clearly firsthand when I was invited by the World Bank 6 years ago now to coordinate their humanitarian drone mission after a Category 5 cyclone. And it was very clear that the foreign drone teams that came in were really, really held back and slowed down because they didn't understand the local language, local customs and traditions, local topology, geography, the environment, the weather patterns, and so on. And we don't necessarily always think about that when we talk about technology and drones, because of course we're very excited by the technology. But I've seen firsthand how that lack of local expertise and local ownership and that local lived experience, how that just, you can have the best drones on the planet, but the best drones on the planet will not make up for having very little local expertise in a particular country, region, language, society, customs, and so on. So that's really what the power of local means to us, is again that power of local leadership, expertise, lived experience. So I see now that our good colleague Queen has kindly joined. Queen, can you hear us? Just getting maybe.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I can hear you.
Thank you. I'm so glad you're able to join. I know there were some challenges there, but thank you. Just to let you know, I've just given the 2 minutes on the power of local, so maybe I switch it back to you for your opening remarks.
Okay. Good morning, everyone. Good afternoon, good evening, bonjour, ni hao. My apologies for these delays. We are broadcasting from Prize Watercoopers in Johannesburg. So they had some other logistical challenges which are connecting us. Our humble apology for wasting your time. Nevertheless, let's continue where we started. Thank you so much, Patrick, for standing in for us while we're trying to connect. I'm with the team here. As I said, we are joining from Midrand, from PricewaterhouseCoopers. I'm with Mr. Jack Shulubane, who is the CEO for Cupid Drone Tech, and the technical director for South African Flying Lab. We have an important guest with us here, Tawanda, the MD for Flying Lab from Zimbabwe, and our team members, Melody and Matapelo. So, as I said, thank you for joining us. I'll just go straight to the program by saying that you are very honored that you have joined us. I'll start by saying that the participant, our distinguished guest, and ladies and gentlemen, my dear friends of science, technology, and innovation, I'm very pleased to welcome you to this webinar on Tech for Good, the African Way. You know, in this call, because of time, I recognize there are some few people and participants from government, private sector, industries, and some of the people from our local communities, which makes me very excited. And I'm very sure that moving forward, we'll be joined by new people that will become our innovators, our future practitioners, or technologists. So we're all welcome to you from different parts of the world. We all understand the importance of technology, you know, that it affects our day-to-day lives and the way the technology is transforming our world. But we appreciate that you can't do everything without collaborating with people like yourself, because when you collaborate, it does help in accelerating the progress and to reduce inequalities by using technology. Hence, we're saying it's technology for good, you know. And we are also seeing here that it's important that we deploy this technological invention so that we are able to reach out to our targeted audience, which is our local communities that we are trying to serve, you know. And I want also to assure you as participant, our distinguished guest here, that this is not another scientific task or a talk show. You know, we are inviting all the policymakers, the business people, the investors, industry players, and civil society to join us in this historic partnership as we try to make a difference out there. Having said all this, in this context, basically, I'm saying this webinar is trying to use tech for good practices to check what works in Africa and in which instances that Africa as a continent requires attention when it comes to deployment of technology. And we are also saying, how can we improve as an African continent to be able to have a universal access and good use of technology as far as we can. And when we talk about tech for good, it talks to a lot of other innovation. But for today's webinar, we'll be focusing how tech for good can be used in instances like disaster management, for STEM program, and for social impact investment. Hence, we've got panelists that will be talking around that, you know. So our agenda, I know, is a bit hectic. It's vast. It's a vast one, and also we are aware that we're having some time limitation. However, we'll try to make the best of it. You know, ladies and gentlemen, as your host, I believe that you are at the right place and the right time, and your participation is highly appreciated. Let's work together and to accelerate the exchange of ideas and how we can scale up these techs for good practices. I'm confident that you'll find new ideas, you'll find a new novel partnership that will sustain our effort in reaching out for people that we are trying to serve. So I'm wishing you a very successful webinar. Before I hand over to the next speaker that is going to take us through the house rules, I would like to have prepared a brief presentation for you, because I always get asked why Flying Lab? Why Cupid Drone Tech? There's a few slides that, and why this workshop. So there's few slides that I'd like to share with you that demonstrate exactly that. Can you see my presentation? Can you see the presentation?
Not just yet.
Not yet.
Not as yet. Okay, I think I need to do this. Okay, just a second. It's coming now. Just trying to share. Can you see it now? It's coming?
Yes. Perfect, thanks.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so basically, we believe in collaboration, hence the co-branding. We started in the drone space, adopting technology, drone as a drone place, as a company that is called Cupid Drone Tech, which is our commercial vehicle, you know. And our original business model was to build the drones, you know, here in South Africa. But later, we decided, you know, that why instead of becoming only a drone manufacturer, we've accumulated a wealth of knowledge. Let's rather become a drone service provider, which will allow us to offer other services, you know. And I think that was the best decision, that because now we are sitting in the situation as a company that we offer drone solution to other agencies like corporate and government, you know, solutions to mines, solution to agriculture. But when we decided to take that business, this decision, and then this one that we got this opportunity, that is it possible that we become a South Africa flying lab, you know. And I'm happy one of the founding members, Dr. Meyer, is here to share with you why the flying lab, why the robotics. But it came as a result of us adding additions to our business. So today we are here to discuss our social impact vehicle known as South Africa Flying Lab, where we use technology, especially drones, to reach out to the community, to empower the community, to close the digital divide, you know. So they're saying that we can't lie with pictures. So what you see there, you see that just a personal introduction about myself there, that I'm the managing director of South Africa Flying Lab, but also the CEO of Cupid Drone Tech. And while deciding to offer services, we also got an opportunity that I become an author, a drone author of the book that did very well, will be hitting #1 spot in Germany. And thanks to people that are attending, like Louise, who facilitated the whole process, you know. So we also are a drone author as a host, but also I happen to be an award judge. Award judge is a system where we scout out the companies that are doing a drone for good globally. But one gets invited as well to talk about to navigate our journey as drone specialists, and also South African Flying Lab. What makes us different? What do you mean by closing the digital divide using drones? But also we are a drone manufacturer. So these are some of our prototypes that we've built, and you see us as a host. You see us sometimes doing some services there, as in the mines, you know, doing some volume stockpiling there. And you see also what we're passionate about as Flying Lab, where we're pushing the agenda of closing the digital divide by empowering our kids with other 4IR intervention, such as robotics, you know, or coding program. So this is what I do, because people are saying, as a host, it's important to know what else do you do. So this is what I do as a drone person in the space. But personally, I'm also a mother of 3 girls. I enjoy playing golf. you know, as one of the hobbies. I'm not a pro, you know, I enjoy dancing a lot. So every time I travel, the first thing that I ask, I say, where's the salsa movement, you know? Sometimes I ask, where's YMCA? But I'm happy as a person representing South African Flying Lab. Now I'm gonna ask, where's the next office for South African Flying Lab? And I enjoy traveling. And also I've been volunteering in YMCA because they do what we are trying to achieve with South African Flying Lab, where they give us the facilities and database of youth that we can train, you know, to empower them on closing the digital divide, but also to expose them to the careers of the future. So I'm a deputy president for all the YMCA in Africa, where we empower them on social enterprise. So that's it about me as a person. We are here today to talk about the South African Flying Lab. We've got three things, a kind of mandate that we use as Flying Lab, but I'm going to speak about South African Flying Lab. You know, we run, as us trying to close those gaps, we run STEM workshop, you know, we run webinars, hence we are sitting today, basically to share best practices with stakeholders, but we also run projects that are in humanitarian in nature or are in disaster management. Hence, one of the panels panel that we'll be engaging on is on disaster management, because this is what we do as Flying Lab, you know, reaching out to the communities. And okay, these are the examples that what we do as South African Flying Lab. We go out there and expose our youth, expose our unemployed youth, our school children, you know, on the power of technology, especially drones, you know, so that they have career options. Because when we ask them, the first thing that they say, I want to be a doctor, a social worker. But with this initiative from South African Flying Lab, we expose them that, are you aware that there's this career that you can consider as an option? You know, so we're lucky that one of our national broadcaster came and captured us while we had that work here. So this is what we do, one of our STEM projects, robotics or drone awareness workshop. As I said, at the second mandate, there's a South African Flying Lab. We host webinar. This is what we are hosting today. I won't waste time on that. The third webinar is on disaster management. This is what we try to do. We know that for the past two incidents here in South Africa, we had a problem with fire, one hospital, university, because as South African Flying Lab, we're supposed to be first responders when such happens, you know. So this is what we do, but also we are into humanitarian space. We believe that how can we use our resources, especially in technology, you know, to sustain health system. We see this Philip Foundation where they were able to give these tools because there's a high rate of ultrasound to the rural communities, because there's a high rate of prenatal death, you know. So this is what we mean when we say let's use tech for good, to be able to reach out to the communities to help them when there's such crisis. We talk about countries like Singapore deploying about 50 robots in hospital, you know. So I'll conclude by saying, why this webinar? Why Tech for Good, the African way? You know, what do we mean when we mean it's tech for good? I think most of you, I'm talking to the invited, but because we have invited local people and the youth, they are wondering what's the difference between a normal tech and tech for good. It's an intentional use of technology to try and have a positive force in society, you know, so that there is impact in the world. But also we use these tech for good themes to educate, inspire, elevate the people and projects that will make a difference to the lives of the whole world. As mentioned, that we're closing the digital divide. We want to solve the world's most critical challenges according to SDG goals. You know, McKinsey puts it so well. They are saying that as practitioners of tech for good, we are trying to smooth the disruption to improve the well-being of people in the world, you know. So it's an old origin, it's an old concept, tech for good, that has been there for 11 years, but it became formal when countries like France, they came together and invited about 50 countries that they took a commitment and make a call in 2020. What is it that we do to ensure that the technology that we are using, people are benefiting? And I'll conclude by saying, what makes this webinar different? We are focusing on the African way, you know, because we believe that there's talk for good all over in the world. But there also needs to be acknowledgement that in Africa, how we approach tech for good, it might be different because of the culture that we have, of the resources constraints that we have. But by that, we are not saying then we need to be ignored. But we're saying let's embrace it. Let's learn from other people that are employing this tech for good practices, but considering the restriction that we have as a country. I think I'm gonna end up here for today by saying our call of action for today will be, are we really using this technology to address structural changes and really give power to the locals in Africa? Or we only invite countries from the privilege, from the West, from Europe, that come and use Africa as a guinea pig to test your without offense, by the way, due respect, to test their drones and go back and make money and commercialize. We are saying you want to have equal partnership. You want to trade jobs with you. You want to change Africa for the better using what you've learned and what works here and what doesn't work here. With those few opening remarks, I'm gonna end here and hand over to one of my colleagues, our youth, because we say we are doing this for youth, to tell us about the house rules. And in the meantime, I'll try to check what people are saying in the chat while she's reading to us the house rules. Thank you. Sorry about that. You're trying to share. Uyanga has the house rules. Uyanga, to save time, can you share the house rules maybe? Because I think I'm wasting time from this side.
Is it basically frozen or something? Oh boy.
Okay. Here's the house rules.
Maybe stop sharing your slides and starting and.
Okay, maybe let me do that. Okay.
Okay.
Okay, thank you. Can you see the house rules?
Yep.
Okay, so thank you. Over to you, Melody. Please introduce yourself. Okay.
Good morning, everyone. I would like to take you through the house rules quickly. Please let us respect each other's point of view and diversity. Maximum participation is highly encouraged. However, due to the hectic nature of the program, chats and Q&A will be predominantly on the chat box. Unattended questions due to time constraints will be emailed. Please leave your email address on the chat box. The webinar will be recorded and emailed to those that have requested. Kindly use the following email address: info@qpdronetech.co.za. Please ask more specific questions as to allow the panelists to answer efficiently. Just to add on this house rules, I would like to add that speakers who will be doing 10 minutes presentations will get 8 minutes warning bell, and a final bell will be rung at 10 minutes exactly. And for speakers who will be doing 3 minutes presentations, the bell will be rung at 2 minutes and the final one will be rung at 3 minutes. Enjoy the Tech for Good journey and let us all use this platform as a learning curve. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much, Milady, for that. Because of time, I have missed on some of the comments and questions, and my apologies for that because we had a rough start. Yeah, but we are here. You know, Milady, I can't see. Okay, I'll read on the comment later. I'll go to hand over to Patrick. Were you done with your session? Can we hand over to the next moderator, Mr. Jack, or were you done? When were you done? Because we're supposed to go to the next.
I already, thanks so much, Mina. I already shared some opening words on the power of local, so we can move to the,
Okay.
we can indeed move to the first panel.
Okay. Thank you so much. Before I do that, can I please share the program with those that didn't get it beforehand, because it's a tight program. Just a second for my share, and then I'll hand over to Mr. Jack with the disaster management panel. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Okay. Okay, so this is the why am I seeing this is the background. Why it is in front of the I should just stick. Sorry guys, I'm not used. We should have stick to our office because we don't have such challenges. Now this big corporate, they do things different now that disorganizing us big time. Okay, but nevertheless, I can't see. Okay. Gonna help us. That's why I was asking you younger to share the screen. Yeah, but this is minimizers.
Do you want me to share the program?
Yes, please. That was our agreement anyway. So coming late make us disorganized big time. Sorry about that. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you. Can you, make it bigger? Zoom it a bit. Yeah, thank you. Yes, so basically we have 3 panels. I think we have done the opening remarks by the host. My apologies again for joining a bit late. And Dr. Patrick Meyer has shared with us the We Robotics Flying Lab, the power of local. And the second one will be handing over to Mr. Jack, who's the moderator for disaster management. And we've got 3 panelists. It's Western Cape by Fabian, who's gonna do that, and Sibande by Mr. Nkosi, and We Robotics. We're gonna start with the Western Cape official, Mr. Fabian, because there's already a crisis, and which is a sad crisis, but actually it makes us realize that we really need this intervention for disaster management. Sadly, he has shared with us before the webinar that one child has disappeared somewhere in the mountain, and now they have to go and rescue. So the team has gone there, but as a supervisor, he needs to go and monitor. So we're gonna give it to him to start, please, Mr. Jack. But now I'm handing over to you. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. I think I am not going to say much because my job is just to facilitate this portion, and also because of the time. What I want to say, and I think Queen has already mentioned, disaster management is one of the key interventions that we would want to be part of from an SA or a Flying Labs perspective globally as part of the Tech for Good initiatives. So in terms of the Disaster Management Act, which is Act 57 of 2002, it provides for an integrated, coordinated management policy that focuses on preventing or reducing the risk of disaster. Interventions that mitigate the severity of disasters and is essentially enabling the coordination of effective response or mitigation actions against potential disasters that are happening. So that is in short what I can say as I open up space for our panel to speak. Now, our panel today, we are going to start with Fabian, who is, as Queen has already alluded, is with the provincial government of the Western Cape. As you can see, he is in full uniform. He's always ready to jump in and aid in situations of disaster. The Western Cape government is the only provincial government that has an ROC. That enables them to fly drones, and they have already used drones in various rescue situations and interventions. And we thought that as part of this panel, we will have somebody that has already done this kind of work, and you will see how our panel has been set up. It comprises people with various levels of expertise. We are going to start with Fabian. As we have said, he is managing a crisis situation as we speak, and he will share some of those experiences with us. Fabian, it's over to you.
Hi, good morning, everyone, and thank you very much for the opportunity to let me just give you guys a brief presentation of what we actually do. So if I'm allowed to share the screen, I don't know if it's coming up. Okay, so can you guys see the screen? Okay, so I'm Fabian Higgins. Like Mr. Jack said, that we have we're the first government organization in South Africa to have a drone ROC, and we predominantly in the emergency medical services, and we do all emergency situations. So I was the unlucky fellow to be nominated as the responsible person, flight operations, aircraft, and security manager. And let me just tell you, had I known beforehand the work that goes into that, I would have bowed out humbly and said, no, thank you very much. I spend all my off days at work, and like just before the webinar started, I got a call from my boss, who was called by the local police dive units, that they're missing a little kiddie and they're requesting our assistance to search for the kiddie. So that is why I requested if I could go first, and then the team is busy prepping all the equipment, and then I'll be running off. So I unfortunately won't be able to stay a bit longer to continue with the webinar, but I will try and get access to the recorded version. Okay, so like I said, I am Fabian, and I'm also a rescue technician. So what we do within the emergency medical service, we are a division of the ambulance service. We're the specialized unit, and we do all kinds of rescue with the jaws of life, sea rescue, air rescue, mountain rescue, any rescue that the normal ambulances can't handle, we then do. And we are extremely busy in Cape Town with all of that. So at the moment, we are 5 pilots within the Western Cape governments. Myself, I'm also a fixed wing pilot, so my love for aviation extends a lot further than just flying the drones. Next to me is my brother. He's also an aviator, works on the Air Mercy Service helicopter, and we've been doing rescues together for 20 years. And then we have the other 3 pilots as well that are all qualified and all have licenses. So these are basically the type of calls that we do, predominantly mountain calls, search and rescue. So we will go out day and night. We have a license to fly at night as well. So we will fly day and night, and we'll go and search any persons missing in any environment, urban or wilderness. We have a huge volunteer base in Cape Town that's called the Wilderness Search and Rescue, and they team up with emergency medical services, and we go out and we rescue people and we save lives. Any major incidents, anything where has more than 20 patients, where people are injured, we declare as a major incident, and we then send all our resources. Motor vehicle accidents, big accidents that we're having in Cape Town with trucks and cars and buses, we do all that, and we deploy the drone with that, all for reconnaissance and to gather intel, especially in the outlying areas outside of Cape Town, where we can actually see what resources we need to send. We then put the drones up as well, and we feed that information to our comm center, and they then send all the necessary resources. Structural collapses, when buildings collapse, we rather will send a drone in than to send people scrambling over buildings and causing further injury. And with our thermal technology that we have with the drones, we're able to pick up heat signatures over a bigger area. Explosions as well. We've had a few explosions. A couple of years ago, we had the big Denel plant that went up. Unfortunately, we did not have our RSC at the time, so we weren't allowed to fly there. So they actually got a private company with an RSC to come and search for people. And then drowning incidents, we along the coastlines, we are inundated with drowning calls along the coast and also inlands. And we actually last night, we were searching for a person in the Hout Bay area that went missing. And we only got back after 9 last night. And then we assist any other government institution that requires our assistance. Like this morning when the police phone us, we will go out and we'll assist them with the drone technology, specifically the drones that we are assisting with. So this is our little baby. At the time when we got our whole drone project going, we had to go with an international manufacturer. So I'm very excited that Queen and her team are busy manufacturing drones in the future, and that we can actually get local content and just get the whole local thing going. I'm very excited about that. It's not nice to only be able to buy a certain select type of drone, but we went for the best out of the lot, and this is a Matrice 200, and she's flown, as I'll show you later in the presentation, how many missions we've gone, and a very reliable machine, and we're very proud of her, and we treat her like our own little baby, and she really gets tender loving care from us, because we know she's what we're doing is we're saving lives, so we really look after with great respect, so that we can actually keep on flying. She has broken down once or twice, but little minor things, and that was sorted out. So using the technology, previously we had rescue equipment, which is predominantly mechanical tools, and our director, Dr. De Vries, is very into technology. He's very pro technology, and he asked us back in 2017 to get this drone thing going, because he was very interested in the drone. So we've bought the M200 and with the XT2 camera, and most of our calls at night, the image on the left is what you'll see under normal conditions, because people get lost in the mountain or in the urban area, and we can't find them. It's a struggle, and we have to go manually with lights. So the image on the right depicts a guy that was paddling in a kayak, just to show you the benefit of the technology and how we're actually going to benefit using technology to find people in our own space. Everybody else's space will all have their own applications, but that is actually a nice depiction of actually what technology does for us in the emergency environments. And then also the second slide, where we have people that we were looking for along the edge of the dam. Under normal circumstances, that is all we will see, and at night. And with a thermal imaging camera, we've got 2 people, a dog and a child walking there. So that is how much the technology helps us save people a lot quicker. So you can imagine that you get stuck on the mountain at night and you don't know where you are, and we deploy the technology that we have to us, and the drone technology increases your chances of being found so much quicker, and your outcome of actually surviving your ordeal is a lot better with the drone technology that we are currently using. Okay, so this was another call on Table Mountain we had a couple of weeks ago. A bit of a challenge at the moment. We are trying to lift the vertical limit restrictions on the drone. We managed to fly 500 meters above ground of where we were, and the patient was still another 300 meters higher than us. So technology does fail us here and there, but we are busy working on that. So this is a bit of a challenge that we have to try and get, and something that we need to look at going forward. Lifting the technology, the actual limit restriction is quite a tedious process. We are busy with it, and but it was a bit of a challenge where we actually couldn't access our patient that was at the blue dot, that was stuck on the ledge there. So luckily we managed to get ground teams to go up, but we did identify the area that the patients, the hikers, got stuck. So again, the drones did help, and we've proven yet again that the drone technology does assist us with people in our situation. So these are statistics, bearing in mind that we only got our RRC 11 months ago. December the 15th, we were handed our license from the civil aviation. So we've flown 28 missions so far, a total of 61, actually the correction at 63 flights. Search and rescue missions, we have done 16 so far, and out of the 16, we've had 7 positive missions, whereby patients were actually found a lot quicker than sending out the normal processes of sending guys into the field. So we're not saying that drones will take over, but we are actually accessing our patients a lot quicker because of the drone technology. And this is the reason why we are very excited about investing in technology, that our patients at the end of the day are going to have a better outcome, and that is what we are all about. So besides that, we've the one rescue mission, which is actually quite important that I need to mention, is that we actually saved our own ground troops one evening on the mountain when they were on their way up the mountain to go and save a person that has attempted suicide. A fire broke out, and our teams were caught between the fire that was raging from both ends of the mountain. We deployed the drone, and we then guided our teams down safely using the thermal technology that we have with the XT2 camera. We got our guys back safely on the ground. The fire, the mountain fire department then went up, and they extinguished the fire to the point that we could actually then get access to the patients. Unfortunately, the patient did succumb to his injuries, not due to the delay, but because of what actually the injuries that he sustained. But we saved our people. We saved 5 of our own staff in the process. So that in itself has already, it's paid for the technology. You cannot deny the fact that the technology with drones is actually doing a lot of good out there. There are a lot of bad things associated with drones. That is a given. But I think the drones are also doing a lot of good. So we're very excited with the fact that drone labs are actually developing drones, and that we can and that they are actually training the local youngsters. Because coming into my environment, workspace that we are in, you have to get your medical qualification before you can then decide on your career path. And you have a youngster that comes in with a drone license or an RMT license, immediately they are flagged and then are mentored in a direction so that we can then empower our own people. And that is always a good thing, that we can then, we can get the youngsters involved. And there are lots of the learnership programs within the emergency services with youngsters that come in straight out of school and they get involved in ambulance operations. To date, none of them have actually come into rescue operations, which is the department that I'm in. And hopefully going forward, if we can collaborate with flying labs, we can then get those youngsters into the rescue environments. We're only a handful of people. Currently, we're about 26 that serve the Western Cape Versed ambulance staff, which is about over 100 or 200. And if we could boost our rescue components and get RMTs out there, we can get more pilots out there. That would actually do a lot of good for the people of the Western Cape and the people of South Africa as a whole. So we're very excited, and I'm sure that we're going to be in touch a lot more with Flying Labs and everyone that is associated with them. So going forward, we will definitely be talking and chatting and educating, and then also training up. Hopefully we'll have some youngsters coming our way. And I think that's, I'm probably a little bit earlier than my time allowed, but yeah, I had to unfortunately rush through the presentation, and I hope that it's given you guys some insight as to what we're doing and what we have achieved. It took us 3 years to get there, but with the whole ROC process, but we persevered and we struggled forth, and we got everything so far. We are also in the process of buying another 3 drones, which will then be distributed to the rural areas. We'll be training more pilots in the new year, and I reckon within the next 2 years we'll probably have 10 drones within the Western Cape specifically used for search and rescue, and servicing our citizens within the Western Cape. So with that, Queen, I'd like to say thank you very much for the opportunity, and everybody that is here and listening, and yeah, thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Fabian. Thank you for a powerful and informative presentation. I am looking at the charts, and quite a number of people are really commenting on how wonderful the work that we are doing, using drone technology to speed up search and rescue operations and all the accomplishments that you have made. And of course, I had a question about your appetite to collaborate with the likes of us, Flying Labs, to help essentially massify your capacity to be able to do this work. But you have already, I think, alluded to that you do have that appetite, and I think we will take that up from the Flying Labs point of view and engage with you so that we can support that work for the common good. I don't know if there is a single question. Anyone who wants to raise a question quickly before Fabienne drops off the call to run into the mountains and support his team that is there. We were going to ask questions at the end of the panel, but because of the situation that is developing, I just want him to respond to 1 or 2 questions before he leaves, and then we can proceed. I'm trying to monitor the chart. I am not seeing any question that is specifically directed at him, except yes, but you can ask a question. The floor is yours. You can ask a question. And
thank you so much for the opportunity. Fabian, what an interesting and insightful presentation. Thank you for taking the time, even though you're so busy. My name is Sibahle. I'm from IT Web. I would like to know if there is an existing partnership that you have either with, We Robot or Flying Labs. And I heard you mentioning Flying Labs. What can we expect from a potential collaboration from you as well as other partners?
Hi there. Okay, thanks for the question. So because our ROC is very new and we're still in our infancy stages, we have not partnered with anybody yet. We have 1 or 2 companies that have come forward requesting meetings and to get more insight as to what we're doing. And I'm hoping going forward with collaborating with Flying Labs or companies like Flying Labs and yourself, that we develop the infrastructure and the tools. Like they have overseas, they are using drones all over the world to actually use within EMS for search and rescue. And something that needs to be developed quite urgently is identifying people in for instance, a mountain environment that the technology, I'm not sure, it's called artificial intelligence, that we can actually then, if we fly a specific area over and over and over again, because we know it is an area where people always get hurt and lost, that the technology can be developed so that when we fly, that people can be detected. So instead of us having to go and search over and over, using artificial intelligence will then enable us to then pick up immediately that there's a rock out of place or there's a person that was not there before. So that's the kind of the route that we're wanting to go. And the IT people will know a lot more than that. My strong point is not IT. So they will know more about artificial intelligence and developing apps. And then also a big thing for us with drone technology is live streaming. At the moment, there is very little technology available to us to actually live stream the actual footage coming from the drone. So when we have a massive accident or a disaster, that we can fly over a certain area and our control center can then see exactly what is going on. And without us having to phone and radio in and say, we need this, we need that, they can automatically pick up that, hey, this is what we need, that's what we need. And that will essentially help all rescue and emergency personnel and make the outcome of the patient a lot better. So that technology is not available to us as yet. So we're hoping that our name is out there and hopefully somebody will come forward and come with proposals that we can actually then develop that technology and get where we need to be, where the rest of the world is already at. I hope that answers your question.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Fabian. I think we will definitely engage, and I'm sure our next speaker, who is Patrick Meyer, will probably comment on some of those, because from a whole We Robotics and Global Flying Labs family, there are a lot of tools. There's a lot of training. There are a lot of technologies that are being played with that can support the work that you do. So thank you very much for taking time to educate, inform, and really enable us to sort of have a peek into the work that you are doing on a daily basis to support people that are distressed either in the mountains or in the sea. Thank you very much. I am going.
Thanks much. Bye-bye.
Thank you. I am now going to call the next speaker, who is the co-founder of We Robotics and Flying Labs Network. It's Patrick Meyer. He has actually done a whole number of projects and initiatives. He has written a lot, I think, around the topic of disaster management as one of those things that he is passionate about. He has published, I think, quite a number of papers in that space, and he is going to be able to share with us a number of experiences within the topic that is at hand of disaster management. Patrick, over to you.
Thank you very, very much, Jack. Thank you, Queen. Thank you for fellow panelists as well. Can you all see my slides okay?
Yes.
Yes.
Perfect. Thank you so much. And I'd love to thank you, Fabian. That was a stellar presentation, and makes it so real. Really from direct experience, and that is incredibly valuable. I'd be happy to connect later on to talk about, some feature detection, automated feature detection possibilities, especially if you're flying over that area frequently. You may just need to do change detection on its own, might be good enough. But thank you for bringing that reality, firsthand experience. It really drives the point home about the challenges, but also very much the opportunities that these technologies can bring to the table, and really make a difference in the biggest way possible. So thanks again to Jack, Queen, for organizing, for all your leadership, and thanks for the kind invitation. I am going to bring hopefully a complementary angle to what my fellow panelists are speaking about, and I very much share with the interest and excitement around these technologies. There's every reason to be excited. you've seen firsthand now from Fabian's examples as well, and no doubt from others who will also join on this panel and throughout the rest of the today's event. So, just to take, for example, this particular comment from a leader in the industry, it's clear that this technology, that drone technology, is in a way, we're just seeing the first wave of this technology starting to have really important impact, and no doubt future waves of this technology as this drone technology does become more and more autonomous over time. It's clear that this is going to have a transformative impact in our lives. And of course, as everyone here is, very much believing that this is a very worthy goal to work towards. At the same time, I think it also helps us to take a few steps back and unpack some of this language. Let's see if this works. So, when we say we are on the very edge of exponential growth, who exactly is on the edge of that exponential growth actually, really? And then whose lives will actually be transformed for the better? And then who will even get to lead this transformation for better lives, right? Who gets to be the expert, who gets to access the technology in the first place, and who gets to make a career out of this? We really need to unpack these questions. And for us, we're kind of reacting to the answers really being always, oh, it's the foreign experts who have access to the technology and the technical skills who then parachute in. We've seen how that can actually backfire and not be sustainable, and basically overlooks or ignores the very real local expertise and lived experience and technical know-how that already exists in country, which is why we've been very excited over the past half decade to work with outstanding experts like Queen and Jack around the world to support their efforts and their priorities in applying emerging technologies for social good. And so Zimbabwe Flying Labs is one of 30 plus flying labs around the world that are local knowledge hubs, independent and locally led knowledge hubs that basically demonstrate this idea of the power of local that I shared earlier during the opening of this event. And one important point to note is that these flying labs are not islands, disconnected islands. They are all directly connected with each other. And we're already seeing here, we've got active participation from Senegal Flying Labs and Zimbabwe Flying Labs. So it's very much a growing community of flying labs. And flying labs join and hosting organizations join the Flying Labs network because there's value that they see, and they stay in the network because there's value. Once there's no more value to them, it doesn't make any sense for them to stay in the network. So it's really a demand-driven network of local experts with a wide-ranging set of expertise and experience across many domains. But of course, what combines them and connects them is this passion for local leadership, local expertise, local lived experience, and emerging technologies. And to drive home the point again, like I mentioned in my earlier remarks, that we're extremely excited that Queen, Jack, and team from South Africa Flying Labs have joined. They've hit the road running, and they've been a really great contributor and engaging partner across the Flying Labs network and for We Robotics as well. So we're talking primarily about humanitarian applications of drones here. At the same time, Queen and Jack wanted me to also give a bit of an overview about We Robotics. But just to let you know that Flying Labs are engaged in multiple different areas and sectors based on their interests, their priorities. And Fabian mentioned the importance of youth and getting young people engaged as well. And so youth robotics is one of the sector-based programs that We Robotics and Flying Labs are very much engaged with, and that is growing in interest across the Flying Labs network from Central America to the South Pacific and dozens of countries in between. But just to let you know that beyond humanitarian applications, i.e. the aid robotics program, Flying Labs are actively involved in applying emerging technologies to sustainable development, to public health, environmental applications, which includes agriculture, nature conservation, and more. And then finally, also the business robotics or biz robotics program is geared towards working with young people and young entrepreneurs and enabling them to launch or expand their own businesses that offer drones as a service. In terms of the technologies available to Flying Labs, this continues to change over time based on new technologies, but also old technologies kind of coming in and going, right? Not all of these technologies we know in the emerging tech space are there forever. And so we have a formal set of technology partners that is continuing to grow that are part of the Flying Labs network, and that enables Flying Labs to get access to not only the expertise that exists in industry, but also enables industry to accelerate the transfer of this technology and know-how directly to the Flying Labs. And in some cases, thanks to these partnerships, Flying Labs are the first movers of using these technologies in their countries. For example, one of the newest technology partners is Skydio, which is truly a company that has taken this priority around autonomous systems very seriously, and their platforms are truly the most exciting autonomous systems as far as drones are concerned out there. And Namibia Flying Labs is one of the first in the entire continent of Africa to be using this technology as we speak for a project that they're leading. Now, in terms of humanitarian applications, I mentioned earlier on in my opening remarks having been involved in response to a Category 5 cyclone. It was in Vanuatu, and how I saw firsthand some of the challenges there. And then just a few months later as well, with the 8.0 earthquake in Nepal, saw even more challenges that were primarily non-technical, that made it very clear that the technology alone was simply not going to be the answer, as is usually the case. Technology is never the answer on its own. And just to share a few high-level observations, and we can certainly go into more details later or in the weeks and months that follow. But what's been very, very clear to us and to many Flying Labs, because we obviously learned directly from Flying Labs, is that there's this misconception that if you're the expert in the technology, for example, if you're the experts in drones, then you can do humanitarian drone projects, that you're going to be an expert in humanitarian drone projects. And unfortunately, that assumption has led to some real harm and wasted efforts, wasted resources, you name it. And the analogy that I often give, as you see from the slide, is just because you have a driver's license does not mean you're going to win the next Formula Grand Prix in Monaco, right? Obviously, it's a whole other set of skills, and we have to be very clear, especially to drone pilots and drone companies that want to get into the social good space, which we should certainly encourage, that they can be very much part of the solution. But it's also clear in my experience that they've been very much part of the problem. So the idea is that they have a lot to learn about what it means to use this technology, the technology that they're experts in humanitarian context or in public health context and sustainable development context, environment, youth, and so on. So just because you're an expert in the technology does not make you an expert in humanitarian projects that leverage the use of this technology. Also, I think there's been this misconception, which I think is starting to change now as more and more people have the direct experience. A very, very small fraction of the time that you're spending on humanitarian drone missions is in fact about flying. The rest, frankly, is a lot of swearing going on, or at least sweating going on, because there's so much more that has to happen before the drones even fly. And even when the drone lands, that doesn't mean that the mission actually finishes. It's not over. You're going to then have to do data extraction, processing, analysis, translating data into action, really enabling decision makers to make the right decisions based on the information products that are derived from this drone data, right? And then before the flying, the flight permissions, understanding exactly where the priorities are, what kind of data is needed in terms of format. Are we talking 7cm spatial resolution or something else? What are the right sensors? Is there enough coordination happening between different flight teams as well, different drone teams, if they're from different companies or different organizations, so that there's no redundancy or overlap? Because obviously you want to be able to use these resources optimally, and having 3 teams as has happened, by the way, I'm not making this up, having 3 different drone companies survey the same disaster affected area as happened in Nepal, amongst other places, within a week is ridiculous. And that actually has, as we saw in Nepal, the local community were rightly very upset and very angry with frankly, complete lack of coordination. And which is in part due to competition, which is also a problem. So, do you have your media strategy? Do you have your data protection strategy? Have you done community engagement or some kind of engagement in order to understand, whether you do have some kind of implied or even better explicit consent? All of that takes 95% of the time. The flying is the easy bit, right? So that's continues to be lessons that are being drawn, have been drawn since 2015, and we're getting better. We're starting to get better, but we're still seeing, newcomers come in and having to learn this from scratch again, and that doesn't help anybody. And that's why we believe that it's extremely important to have disaster response simulations, live exercises, because at the end of the day, take drones away. If you spend any type of meaningful time with